Something just landed on your arm. You felt it before you saw it. A tiny pressure, a weight so small it barely registers, and by the time you looked down, it was already reading you. Not looking at you, reading you. The way a reader reads a sentence, moving through information that has been there the entire time, waiting to be processed. Here is what you need to understand. Right now, without your knowledge or consent, you are being perceived by hundreds of different creatures, each one reading a completely different version of you. Not different opinions about the same thing, different things entirely. The mosquito circling your head is processing one set of signals. The fly on your kitchen counter is processing another. The ant crossing your floorboard is reading something the fly ignores. The bee outside your window sees patterns on your skin you cannot see yourself. They are each encountering a different you, and none of those versions maps onto the version you think of as yourself. Here is what insects actually experience when they encounter a human being. Start 50 meters away. That is where the mosquito finds you first. Every time you exhale, you release a plume of carbon dioxide that spreads downwind through the air. The female mosquito, only females bite, only because they need blood to produce fertile eggs, detects this CO2 from up to 50 meters away using specialized neurons in structures called maxillary palps, receptors tuned so precisely to the chemistry of breath that they can detect concentrations invisible to any instrument humans made before the 20th century. But CO2 is only the switch. Research from Caltech on Aedes aegypti, the mosquito that carries dengue, Zika, and yellow fever, showed that carbon dioxide does not simply attract mosquitoes. It acts as a master activation signal that turns up the sensitivity of every other sensory system simultaneously. Body odors that fell below detection thresholds suddenly register. Visual contrast becomes meaningful. The hunt that was passive a moment ago becomes active and targeted. Within 5 meters, your skin takes over. Research published in Current Biology identified a receptor gene called IR8A that allows mosquitoes to detect the specific acidic compounds in your sweat. The lactic acid, the carboxylic acids, the chemical signature produced by your skin bacteria from your particular combination of genetics and diet and stress hormones. Research from the National Institutes of Health found that some people are consistently more attractive to mosquitoes across multiple years, not because they smell stronger, but because their skin produces higher concentrations of these specific compounds. You produce a chemical signature that is uniquely yours. The mosquito has been following it since 50 meters away. Now the fly lands on your food. You wave it away. It returns. You wave it away again. It returns again. Most people assume this is stupidity. The science says something else. A housefly processes visual information at up to 300 frames per second. You process the world at roughly 60. When you raise your hand to swat it, the fly is watching your arm move the way you would watch a slow-motion replay. Every flicker of motion that appears to you as a single blur is, to the fly, a sequence of individually legible frames. It does not return because it failed to register the threat. It returns because it has already calculated the arc of your arm, identified the safe zone outside that arc, repositioned itself, and is now processing the new information your body is broadcasting. What it reads is not you. It reads the volatile compounds rising from your food, from your skin, from the bacteria on your hands. It tastes with its feet. Chemoreceptors on its legs fire the moment it makes contact with any surface, giving it an immediate chemical readout of what it has landed on. It is not eating. It is analyzing, deciding whether what you have in front of you is worth the effort. It is, every time, faster than you. Now the ant crosses your floor. When an ant finds something in your kitchen, it is not operating alone. It is operating as a node in a network. Daniel Kronauer at Rockefeller University published research in 2023 in the journal Cell documenting how alarm and trail pheromones in ants influence entire colonies, and how this chemical language is processed in their brains. An individual ant that encounters something unusual, a new smell, a vibration, a food source, releases chemical signals that travel through the colony, coordinating responses without any central decision maker, without any ant understanding the whole picture. The colony is the brain, the individual ant is the neuron. What this means for you is this. Within minutes of an ant finding something in your kitchen, 100 ants are moving toward that location, Not because any single ant directed them, but because the chemical information you inadvertently provided was enough to activate a response distributed across thousands of organisms simultaneously. You triggered a collective intelligence without knowing you were communicating. Your footstep on the floor communicated your weight and position through vibration. The smell of your food communicated its chemical composition through the air. The oils from your skin marked everything you touched. The ant did not decide to explore your kitchen. The kitchen was already full of your information. The ant simply followed it. And then the bee sees your face. Lars Chitka at Queen Mary University of London, who has spent decades studying bee cognition and published his findings in The Mind of a Bee, documented something that rewrites what most people believe about insect intelligence. Honeybees, with a brain containing roughly 1 million neurons, can recognize individual human faces, not shapes that look vaguely like faces. Individual human faces, distinguishing between photographs of different people, remembering which face was associated with a reward, and continuing to recognize those faces when shown from different angles. The research, published in the Journal of Experimental Biology by Adrian Dyer, working with Chitka at Queen Mary, showed that bees trained to associate a specific face with a reward could identify that face from among others with striking consistency. They were using the same general-purpose visual learning machinery they use to distinguish between flowers applied to your face. When a bee approaches you, it has already seen you in ultraviolet light, a spectrum invisible to humans that reveals patterns on skin and clothing you cannot see and do not know you are displaying. If it has encountered you before, if you tend a garden it visits regularly, it may have already filed a representation of your face in a visual memory system it uses to navigate back to reliable locations. The bee does not think of you as a person. It thinks of you as a visual pattern associated with a particular kind of encounter, one that was useful or dangerous or neutral, depending on what happened last time. Here is the twist that changes how you see the room you are sitting in. Right now, the insects in your immediate environment are running continuous sensory analyses of everything you produce: the CO2 from your breath, the heat from your body, the volatile compounds from your skin, the vibrations from your movement, the visual pattern of your shape against the background. You are not invisible to them. You are not even close to invisible. You are one of the loudest, most chemically complex, most visually distinctive objects in their environment. The mosquito found you from 50 meters away. The fly watched your arm in slow motion and outmaneuvered you. The ant built a map of your kitchen from the traces you left without knowing you were leaving them. The bee filed your face alongside the flowers it visits. None of them have a concept of you as a person, with a name and a history and a consciousness. But all of them have you, a set of signals, a chemical signature, a visual pattern, a vibration frequency, stored in whatever version of memory their nervous system uses to navigate the world. And this is the part that is about you. You move through your life assuming that the interior experience, the thoughts, the feelings, the sense of being a self, is what matters most about you, the version that communicates, the version that other people respond to. But to every insect in your world, that version does not exist. What exists is the version that breathes and moves and emits heat and leaves chemical traces on every surface it touches, the version that has been broadcasting, continuously and without pause, every moment of your life. From 50 meters away, in slow motion, in ultraviolet, through the vibrations of every floor you have ever walked across. You are, to the insect world, extremely loud. Whether that unsettles you or clarifies something, whether it makes the room feel smaller or larger or simply more populated than you realized, that question none of them are asking. They are too busy reading you to wonder what you think of them.